The story behind Bayonetta 2 is kind of depressing when you think about it. I don't mean the actual plot, I mean the story behind the game itself. From my understanding, despite how well received and praised the first game was, financial issues at Sega and the restructuring and refocusing on certain brands caused the sequel to be cancelled, and it wasn't going to happen until Nintendo decided to publish it. Upon that announcement, one of the most unnecessary shitstorms of 2012 happened. The sheer amount of venom that came from that announcement was embarrassing. People were actually saying that they would rather it not exist at all than being on a Nintendo system. But it's been 2 years since that announcement and the game has launched. Was all that venom warranted? Did Nintendo ruin the game? No, of course not. To both questions, Bayonetta is back and better than ever. For those who don't know, Bayonetta is a witch, and she fights the forces of Paradiso. She kicks ass and takes names while having a complete and total blast. So plot-wise, Bayonetta 2 is both a sequel and kind of prequel to the first Bayonetta. It takes place after the first Bayonetta, but there's stuff that happens here that actually sets up for the first game. Let's just say that time travel is involved. Anyways, the actual plot for the game starts when Jean protects Bayonetta from an attack and has her soul dragged down into Inferno as a result. And from there, Bayonetta has to travel to Fimbulventr to get to Inferno, while also being hunted by a Lumen Sage and protecting a kid named Loki who also needs to go to Fimbulventr, but can't remember why. The cutscenes switch between being energetic, having tons of over-the-top movements, to a slideshow, where the characters' mouths don't even move and the camera just pans across the screen. It's a bit jarring at times, but the slideshows are mostly regulated to when everyone is talking and explaining the plot, or unimportant things. When they actually are moving around, it's for action, and it's awesome. I was also finding some of the lines funny.
You again? Listen, mate. One, the mask is shit, okay? Hey, you're the pervert staring at Bayonetta's tits all the time.
So you're saying diplomacy has failed, then? I don't know what you did to piss her off, but whatever it was, nice.
Anyways, the plot isn't the main attraction, and it doesn't have anything new or groundbreaking, but it gets things done, moving Bayonetta from set piece to set piece. For the most part, the levels were different and varied, from fighting on top of a fighter jet to the streets of Noatan, to the gates of hell to Inferno itself. I didn't know what to expect next. Occasionally, though, there was some reused assets. For example, in the first level, there is a church. Later, you go through the same church, only it's underwater now. The game is 16 chapters long plus the prologue. It took me just under 9 hours to play through it on normal with a bunch of exploration thrown in, and I didn't find everything. Since then I have easily doubled that time and I am still nowhere near done. On normal, or as the game calls it, second climax, it was actually rather easy and I thought it was much easier than the first Bayonetta, as I only had died once or twice in this game, but third climax was constantly kicking my ass, especially during boss battles. The controls are actually really simple and quick to learn. The X button to use the weapon that's equipped to your arms, the A button to use the weapon that's equipped to your legs, Y button to use any weapons you picked up from the enemies, or your guns, B to jump, R to change to a second set of weapons that you have equipped, L to activate Umbran Climax, ZL to lock onto enemies, and ZR to dodge. The only problem I had with the controls was the control pad being the item shortcuts, and I think that just came down to my own controller. When hitting the control pad to use an item, even though I was hitting, say, right, it was for some reason registering as the up button, so I'd use the wrong item. It was slightly frustrating, but nothing too deal-breaking, since in my setup that would just be the invincibility candy as opposed to the healing candy. If you dodge at the right moment, you activate Witch Time, a move that slows down time for a few seconds and you can land stronger hits and add to your combo. Practically every single button input can make a different combo. If you ever get tired of just using the same weapons, you can instantly switch to new ones, and all new combos are immediately at your disposal. A lot comes from the experimentation of putting different weapons together. Added into this game is the Umbran Climax. I think that this is probably the major change that makes this game easier than the first Bayonetta. The Umbran Climax is a temporary power-up that, at the cost of some of your magic, it strengthens you and restores some health during this time. When you use it, enemies are much more aggressive, but they are all easily stunned, so I found the increased aggression to be a non-issue most of the time. Once you understand how everything works, the game lives up to the tagline of non-stop climax action. There's occasionally some exploration, where you can find chests, pages of a book, and Muspelheims, which are completely optional challenge circles that take you to another area to complete various challenges, such as beating all enemies in only one combo, beating all enemies in a certain time, or having Witch Time disabled. Completing the Muspelheims gives you rewards, such as pieces of broken witch heart, where, like in The Legend of Zelda, you need 4 pieces to get more health, or a part of a moon pearl. That will increase your magic. There are also portions of long play records that can be found to unlock new weapons once they are completed. As per Platinum Games tradition, you can buy a bunch of new moves and accessories at a shop. That can power you up or even make the game harder. Unlike the Wonderful 101, important things such as the ability to dodge is with you at the start. There is a lot of replayability, mainly in trying to get higher rankings on the levels and then playing the higher difficulties. There is also Tag Climax mode, a versus mode where you can go online and fight a bunch of different fights consisting of all the different enemies in the game. It's both cooperative in that you're both fighting the same monsters, and competitive in that you're trying to get a better score than the other person, so that you get the bonus that you wagered for. If you can't find anyone to play with, or don't want to play with anyone, you can still play against the CPU, which is actually quite difficult. There are also alternate costumes that you can buy. They range from eye candy to the Nintendo sets, which I would be more inclined to call sexy cosplay. The Nintendo costumes aren't just limited to cosmetic changes on Bayonetta. The Fox costume also changes the fighter jet in the intro into an R-Wing. And the Princess Peach and Daisy costumes changes the halos you collect into coins and making the Wicked Weaves into Bowser's hands and feet. They also have a tendency to make things amazingly stupid. There is no other way to put it. I mean, you can skate around on chainsaws while dressed up as sexy cosplay Princess Peach. I am not making that up. If there was anything that I was disappointed in, it was that there was only one small playable segment with Loki. I just thought that his cards would have allowed him to be a very different fighter than Bayonetta. But no, all you get to do with him is run away from a monster. Bayonetta 2 is amazing. In my opinion, it is currently the best game on the Wii U. It should not, under any circumstances, be overlooked. If you have played any of the previous Platinum games, such as Mad World or The Wonderful 101, and didn't like them, try Bayonetta 2. There is no gimmicks, no focus on motion controls, no focus on the drawing of the shapes. Just fluid, non-stop action. You're always in complete control. It is extremely fair and gives you many options if you're having difficulty with it. The game starts off on a high note and continues to top itself, never faltering. This is Platinum Games at their absolute best. Also, since it includes the definitive version of the first game, at least in North America, this makes it a near unbeatable bargain even if you already played the first Bayonetta on other systems. Do not pass up Bayonetta 2.